So I am calling the meeting to order. First, we have the consent agenda, which is the previous minutes. And I think I'm gonna take it all together. So the previous minutes, the first and second read policies. Are there any that you have any questions or comments on? If I have none, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Mort has made the motion to approve previous minutes and first and second reading of policies. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? So moved. And I am an aye. I didn't voice that. Next, we have recognition of visitors. I don't see any.
Robert.
Oh, Robert. I thought he just got added to our long list of people. Hi, Robert. Are you, is he on, are you on the agenda?
School spotlight.
Where am I?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's not a, okay. You threw me off with the
Sorry.
visitor.
Yeah.
He's
Just a prompt today.
not. Okay, so that brings us to the first spotlight, which is Matt Webb. Where is he? Chop chop. Okay,
Do you want me
Did
to
you
go?
do-
He
Yeah.
did come in because I have.
he did. So
Yeah.
Jen, why don't we start with you, which is Enosburg Elementary School.
Okay, and so we wanted to highlight today Robert Jarvis and I, who is our tech integrationist. The role that he took on this year is different than we've had in the past. And so I think Nate was a tech coordinator, and when Nate left, we kind of changed the role so we get an integrationist. So we just wanted to highlight what Robert's doing at the elementary school and how he's doing this. Robert, do you want to say anything more?
Well, I'll say all about what I'm doing. Take it from there. I'm going to actually shift to the screen and let Courtney show a couple of videos that we've done. Is the first grade you do it first or the Rocket book?
We're doing Rocket.
Okay. So I don't have my computer in front of me, so I'm scattered as much as
So we have a
possible
couple
be.
examples of what he's done in first grade and some stuff he's done with the older kids.
Yeah, so not sure who has or hasn't seen, this is a Rocket book, something you can buy, and it's very unique in that it's got plastic pages that you can wipe them down, erasable ink, and you can scan whatever you write into a PDF and save it into a text, an email, or into a Google Drive or whatever online you've got. So that's a Rocket book. With fifth graders, we started using Rocket paper, which is just same thing as the notebook, except it's paper form. They do their work and they can scan away. And then we've shifted to this thing we call a Rocket window, which is just the notebook blown up with the part that you write on it cut out, so that when students do their work, they can scan, they put their work right in the window and they can scan it away. So I'm sharing this because we're doing this with fifth graders, and specifically I'm working with Kim St. Pierre and Melissa McKinstry. Melissa is the librarian, Kim's the fifth grade and math specialist. And we'll be presenting at Dynamic Landscapes, a technology conference in Burlington in May, on the fifth grade use of the Rocket book. And the essential use is that they have math journals, and they respond to a math prompt from Kim, and they do their work, and then they need to show their work in a digital format. Before the Rocket book, and we'll show you what that looks like in a minute, they were using their Chromebooks to try to take pictures of their work, and sometimes they'll fold over and it'll be a decent picture, other times it's just fuzzy and sideways, and I've been in classrooms where they've tried to hold the paper up and take the picture, and it was just a mess. So this is something we've been working on. We'll take a look at Blake and Ryland shared with us today. I will say before you hit play, Courtney, that I'm not a filmographer, so the iPhone and cropping and all that's on me. And these guys didn't have a clue as to what I was going to do when I walked into the room today to take this video. So if you go ahead and play, we'll listen to Blake and Ryland and talk about Rocketbook. And they're quiet too, so a lot of that isn't the.
is Ryland, and I'm in 5th grade.
All right, what are you doing, Blake?
I'm gonna solve this problem.
Go for it.
That's it.
So now what do you have to do with that?
You have to put it in the rocket window and scan it.
And what different parts of the rocket window we have here?
We have the window, which you need to scan. Also, you need the QR code. And you also need the background for it, because if you didn't have the background, it wouldn't come out as good. So if you put it like there, it looks better than having it like this. Because then you have like that, and it wouldn't be the same as this. That's the color of the paper. Let's put it under, or we can have it like this.
Then you go to Rocketbook. Then go to your teacher's drive.
You scan.
Then you scan.
And I'm using the phone for Rocketbook to scan my work.
Why are you using the phone?
Because
it takes a better photo.
and it's easy to hold it still, and so it will take a better photo.
Okay.
Now go to
Your teacher's Google Drive, and then
next.
then next again.
Do you get to name it?
Yes.
Yeah.
You have to name it something else so you remember the name. It's here. Then you put like your name, and if you're sharing with someone, you can put their name too. And then you have to send it.
Okay, so where does it go?
It goes to the drive on the computer.
It goes to Miss St. Pierre's drive, so we gotta search out.
Then you search up Miss, whatever your teacher's name is,
Miss St. Pierre Rocket Stairs.
right here. Then you'll look at it. See if you,
And that's what you want.
Yeah.
yep.
Okay, so what are we gonna do with it?
Put a new tab,
Go to your class.
classes. Then you go to math.
Then your menu journal template.
Go to your work. Then if you don't have a blank page, make a new blank page for it. Then you do insert, image,
Then go to the drive.
Then
It should be on the top.
insert, and if it's sideways, you can just turn it. So it's like this.
Awesome. So now that we have our picture in our slide, how do we explain our math problem solving?
So you would go down to the bottom, wait until that pops up. Then you would go to your apps and look for the Chrome MP3. Then you would record your audio, save it. Then you will go to insert in. PEMDAS means parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. And my work is like the 7 minus 2, I knew that was 5. So I turned that into a 5. Then I did times 7 equals 35.
There was parentheses
That
through
parentheses
7
meant
minus 2, so we did that first.
then
Then
we times the number equals by 7.
And that's how we got our answer.
For that you have to move your downloads to like your Google Drive.
So I mean, it's much longer. I didn't want to go through the whole thing, but essentially they got their scan and they put that into a shared document to share with the teacher through Google Classroom. And then they added their audio explaining, if I didn't do the part about explaining the math, Kim would never forgive me. So explaining the math and adding the audio piece at the end of it. So that's the rocket window and the work that we're doing, some of the work that we're doing with 5th grade. And again, we're sharing that work at a state conference in Burlington in a couple of weeks. The next couple of things are 1st graders, and it's an interaction between 1st grade and high school, where 1st graders ask a question and then the high schoolers answer it. And so I'll just let those play, and if you have any questions, we can go with them.
Hello, my name is Addison. And I am Beckham. And I'm Whalen. How does rain get in the clouds?
Hi, Addison, Whalen, and Beckham. I'm Lily, and this is Connor. You know when you're boiling water for your mac and cheese?
And like the steam rises and gathers on top of the lid, that's what it's like when the water comes off the ground and gets in the clouds.
Hello, my name is Trinity. And my name is Ryder. And my name is Carson. How does it thunder?
Hi, Trinity, Ryder, and Carson. I'm Addison.
I'm Laura, and thunder is when lightning makes the air really hot and it expands, and then it comes back and gets cold and it thunders.
Hello, my name is Aaliyah. And my name's Kellen. And my name's Bambi. Why is the sun hot?
Hello, our names are Wilder, Luke, hi, Bailey, Aaliyah, and Kalen. So you know when you're having a fire, it's like really hot. The reason why the sun is hot is because helium and hydrogen combine to make fire.
Hello, my name is Samus. And my name is Tony. How did the moon get its craters?
Hi Samus, hi Tony, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Caden.
And the moon has craters because in space there are big rocks called asteroids that crash into it, causing holes on the moon. And it's just like when you step in the mud and it makes an imprint.
Hello, my name is Kinsley. And my name is Dawson. What are clouds made of?
Hi Kinsey.
Hi, Dawson.
My name is Jonathan.
And my name is Caden.
The clouds are made of water vapor.
Just like when your mom makes mac and cheese for you and the water sticks to the top of the pot.
Mac and cheese is
Mac
obviously.
and cheese is,
so.
yeah, it's only food they eat, actually. They're like, we can cook this one, yeah.
So there's a second one, it's a lot the same, but if we don't play it, again, I'll have some upset kids. So I'll let Courtney switch to this one. I told them they'd be famous by showing these two guys.
Why do frogs have long tongues?
Hi, Sammy, Maddox, and Aiden. I'm Chelsea. I'm Chloe. And frogs have long tongues so that they can catch insects like flies and eat them.
Hi, my name is Nilu. And my name is Carter. My name is Riker. Why does the sun burn our skin?
Hi, Nilu, Riker, and Carter. I'm Addison.
I'm Laura, and we're here to tell you why the sun burns your skin. So, the sun is very hot, and it releases little UV rays that hit your skin. And if it's unprotected, then you will get sunburnt from the blood rushing to your skin, which causes it to be red and burnt.
You can also get sunburned on cool and cloudy days.
Hi, my name is Lucille. I'm Bradley. Hi, I'm Mariana. What would happen to water if we brought some to the moon?
Hi, Lucille.
Hi, Brantley.
Hi, Maria.
I'm Brayden.
I'm Cassidy.
And I'm Taya.
There can't be water on the moon because there's no atmosphere.
So it'll evaporate.
So you can't bring water on the moon.
Hello, my name is Eileen. Hi, my name is Michaela. And I'm Jackson. Why do raccoons eat trash?
Hi, Jackson, Michaela, and Eileen. I'm Chloe. And I'm Chelsea. And raccoons eat trash because it's what they can find when they're hungry.
Hello, my name's Dalton. And my name's Clinton. And I'm Colton. Can people walk on the sun?
Hi, Dawson, Clinton, and Colton. I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Max.
I'm James.
The first reason why people can't walk on the sun is because it's way too hot for people to even get close to the sun.
And you can't walk on the sun because it's made of just gases.
And finally, if you were to try and walk on the sun, due to how large it is, the gravity would just pull you to the floor and you wouldn't be able to walk.
So again, that was first grade in Chelsea Mendez Cole and Sandy Kane's room, and then I worked with Russ Lamatia and Lisa Perry at the high school with their science students.
So Robert's role has really become so valuable because the kids are learning this technology and they're way more advanced than I am. But they're just learning. We've got a green screen. Robert's brought a lot of different ideas and activities to our school, and as you can see, the kids at any age are taking advantage of it. So we're really grateful that we made this shift and included Robert as a tech integrationist.
Do you have any questions on any of that?
Yeah,
or
when you
comments?
were talking about the Rocket notebook,
Yep.
and you said it was scanned, the capabilities are that they're just taking pictures, right? Or does it
It's an
have-
actual PDF scan.
It is,
Yep,
so
and
that
it-
is.
And it does do, not so much with my handwriting, but it will do handwriting recognition, OCR.
It works
so
great
it'll-
with my handwriting.
Yeah, so
Wow.
Rachel can do it. Sometimes it'll pick up words for me.
Got you. But even the border, that too?
Yep, so anything within the black, which is why we cut out everything except the black on
Oh,
the
okay.
window. Yeah, so anything inside of the black you can scan in. Yeah.
And they also make little beacons, so you can put these orange beacons on the corner of whiteboards and turn a whole whiteboard into like a book and scan. Like, so if your class does a big like visual
Right.
activity or web or something, the teacher could put these things on the corners,
And it just
capture
moves
the
it.
image, and save it right to their like Google Classroom without having to preserve the.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And,
Or waste
and
paper.
so notebooks, so there's a few administrators, Rachel and Matt, and I don't know if any other administrators, Lynn, have you gotten one yet?
Yeah,
They're like
yeah.
$25, $30 for a notebook, but for students, everything is free. The downloads, it's fully copyright downloaded. The app is free. You can't do it with 13 and under students, that's why I use a teacher account, and yeah, it's been a great resource so far.
Wow, that's great.
Yep.
I love it.
So this is what we're hoping when we shifted to the tech integrationist, is that Robert would bring some of these ideas that would really, be exciting in the classroom and be really relevant, and find ways to authentically engage students and teachers in, different ways that we can learn. So
And
it's really
like-
exciting to see those examples.
With the teachers, we have some that are very tech savvy, but we have some that aren't and are almost scared of it. But I mean, we've had everybody try this. So Robert's made it very attainable and very comfortable, like, hey, I can help you through this, and so that's been great.
Great.
I think just to underscore what Lynn said, the engagement factor. So Kim has been doing math journals all year long, and getting the students to do a math journal is not the easiest thing, and getting them to show their work and share their work. But when they start to use a phone and scan and know about QR codes and something different, they really get engaged, and they really own the technology as well. So that's been really nice.
Using it for good instead of evil.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep, they'll
I like
learn.
it.
It depends
I like
on what
it.
we want them to learn. So the last thing that I have is a proposal to relocate the digital sign, and if you want to pass those down to
Do
some
you
of the
want
board
us to do
members.
that now?
Yeah, do you have time?
Is that okay with you?
Sure.
We do it. Wait, Robert doesn't
Yep.
like this guy.
Yep, you certainly can. I didn't make a lot of copies because I'm not a paper person, hence the notebook that you can scan and erase and redo. But I'll go through this, and I do have an ask at the end we'll get to. So currently the sign is across from the elementary school at the soccer field entrance. So essentially people who see the sign are people already headed to the elementary school or soccer field. And I know that History had the desire to place it at the bank, and I spoke with Well, I spoke with the board and I spoke with
Well, you spoke with Polly.
Susie, yeah. I spoke
We weren't
with,
all here.
Yeah, so Susie Hall, parent, gave me some info that she had actually come to an agreement with the bank and suggested I start there. So I went to the bank and made the proposal to put it on their corner. And they're fully on board. In fact, they want to volunteer a couple of pieces to it. So we'll get to that. So you can go ahead and, so that is the location. You see Dickinson Avenue on top and then the main street going down on the left side. And the sign would be, if it passes the village approval, would be just in front of the tree and about 9-10 feet away from the sidewalk. The sign fits all of the permit application considerations. My only concern, and even though the zoning administrator did not express the same concern, my only concern is visibility of traffic, oncoming traffic. So they'll need to consider that when they go for the approval. I would imagine that would be the only thing that would hold the project up. Next slide. That's just the dimensions of the sign itself. The base of it is the big thing. It's a 2x4 by 4 foot slab of concrete in the ground. It goes up between the pedestal and the sign itself. It's about 9.5 feet tall and about 4 feet wide. So that's just the existing blueprint of the sign. That's good, Courtney, if you want to go to the next one. A lot on this here, but I already said that the base is the big piece, so the hole needs to be excavated. I am coordinating with the village, with John DeSaro at the village, to talk about a dig safe clearance. I've got 1/3 yard of concrete. That's wrong. My math was off. It's about 1 yard of concrete. I knew something was wrong there. I did that. And then the physical part of unbolting it, moving it, rebolting it, all that stuff. And I think it was Matt that suggested I work with custodial staff and with Vern. I have not approached them yet. I wanted to get a board approval first. I had talked with the Career Center. I know that Seth is busy this time of year. I haven't heard back on any indication. So I moved forward, where it's highlighted there, moved forward to speak with Scott Goodhue. Scott has volunteered to donate his time to do this, and he would only charge for the concrete and any particular materials, any other materials that he might need. So I think it's a fairly minimal cost. I believe a yard of concrete is somewhere around 140, 150 bucks a yard. And I could be mistaken on that. And again, John Asaro said that they would help as much as possible, but they've got some sidewalk and crosswalk projects planned this spring, so he couldn't promise me anything. So next. On the technical side, the bank has agreed to supply an electrician to wire the sign and the conduit back to their power. And they've also agreed not to charge the school for the electricity to run the sign. It's a minimal cost anyway, but they don't want to have to deal with the bill of a monthly bill of electric, which makes sense. The sign runs on a long-range Wi-Fi. Currently, it's from the sign to the elementary school, so it would be from the sign on the corner, proposed, to the middle school, as long as it's back on the network here. Yeah, next slide. There's a lot here, and I'll take a breath after I go through it because I have not discussed these particulars with the administrators, and they may want to ask some questions at this time, or maybe later, we'll see. So administration message updates, that's really a big thing that is an organizational thing. But currently Enosburg has 2 IT staff, not counting myself, they're full year. One of those could possibly be tasked with this. Again, I have not spoken with administration. Additionally, it could be attached to an administrative staff person. Courtney, did we actually miss a slide before? Could you go one more?
This one?
Yeah, this one. Yep, sorry. I meant to say this one. So right now, the sign is managed from Molly Swainbank's workstation at the elementary school. That workstation could be anywhere on the Enosburg network, but only that workstation has access to the sign. So I work with Molly side by side to update the sign. We've done it 2 or 3 times in the last month for updates. So one suggestion moving forward could be that the principals have a form where they submit to whomever's responsible for doing the sign. I want this on here on this particular date to run for 3 days or whatever it is, just so that we have some kind of communication flow. So that's good, Courtney. So here, all of these administrative suggestions, whether it's an admin staff, whether it's IT staff or an administrative assistant who does it, they're all suggestions. I'm not the coordinator director of technology. I don't supervise any of these positions, so I'm just throwing these out here as possibilities, just full disclosure. And then in highlight, the actual process of updating is an important one. Even though it only takes a few minutes to do, it's very important that you get accurate information up on the sign, and especially if it's seen at Main Street. And just a side note, the last time the sign was updated before this spring was 2016. So we didn't find any records of the sign being updated for years. So there may have been, but we didn't see any files. So yeah, it's important to me that, like a web page, that you update your signage, your information going out to the public. That's good, Courtney. And then the ask that I have for the board, and you don't need to do it tonight, but if you do it tonight, I'll move forward with my timeline, which I have on here. The ask is to sign the application. You actually don't even need to do that, but I have told the bank that I'd like to have the board signature on the application before I go to the village. That way they know that it's not just some guy from the school who's doing this, it's the board who's is proposing. So I know you have a question, Paul, but let me just,
Yeah.
so the time frame, if signed tonight, I would submit to the village tomorrow. Jesse Wood has said it'd take a day or two for him to go through and approve it, as long as there are no problems. But then we post a permit on the property for 16 days, 15 days. And so in that time, I would meet with Scott Goodhue, Lloyd Leroux at the bank, and Lloyd actually suggested having John DeSaro at the same time, and we'll talk about specifics then. And then after the 26th, we could proceed with the move if everything goes according to plan. So I'm done
Well,
talking.
my question, I think you kind of answered it. I was like, there is no village zoning, it's the town zoning. But then you said Jesse, so I knew that.
It's village. Did I say town?
No, you should say town.
Oh, I thought it was village.
Oh, I know.
It's not village zoning?
No,
Okay.
they merged.
All right.
It was
Yeah.
the one thing that did merge in that town,
Okay.
right? Is
Yeah.
the zoning, yeah.
Yeah, I've been getting all of this feedback from Jesse.
For Jesse, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I was confused when I was like, John versus Jesse. I wasn't sure if you were going to the right place, but you are.
Yep.
And it's gonna be nice because like we're having an art show Tuesday, and if we have that rate out there, it's just another way of communicating.
It actually struck me on town meeting day, because even though I was working in the building, I was on my way to the fire station,
Yeah.
the ambulance station, to do my voting, and I walked that way like, oh, it's here. And had
I
I
know.
seen that on a sign, I probably saw it on an email 10 times from Lynn, but I didn't pay attention to Lynn, but I would pay
Yeah.
attention to a big red sign on the way out of
No.
town.
You definitely saw it. At least.
I saw your look. And on the next slide, this last slide, so my request is for you to consider and sign off on the application, and I would expect about a $500 amount, and that's why I just put that in, and you can adjust as needed, not to exceed $500. So I'll leave that to you to figure out where to go from there.
Yeah. Any questions, concerns?
This came up like
Yeah.
my very first year as a principal here, like,
Yeah.
and the Wi-Fi capabilities didn't exist to put it there, and there was something with the zoning at the time, but it's been something we've been trying to do. Like, it came up
Yeah,
and
for
we
sure.
really tried to do for a while, and like really that's a way better place for the
I know.
sign.
Because I was on the select board when they came
Yeah.
with the sign, and they were gonna try to put it on the
Yeah, on the
town
other
clerk's
side.
office,
Yeah.
and then we were trying to, but the idea was that it would be out on Main Street,
Yeah.
and then it just kind of like landed back here.
Yeah.
So it makes total sense.
Yeah.
I will say there's a little confusion about digital signage right now in the village, you're aware.
Oh, so I don't know if I'm saying this on camera,
Okay,
but
yeah,
the town of Enosburg bylaws actually say everywhere that there are no digital signs anywhere in Enosburg, but go ahead and take a look.
Maybe
Right.
that was the
I mean, all I
barrier.
gotta do is drive by the liquor store and the store to see the digital stuff. Yeah.
And both Jesse and John did say that the village, town village,
Yeah.
is trying to put a sign by the armory where their new
Correct.
offices will be. So that's another little
Another digital.
confusion that's happening, so.
Yeah. For sure.
So I don't know if you have any more questions for me, and I'm guessing you'll need to discuss how to move forward, but as soon as I have a permit signed, and I didn't hand that off yet, so I'll give you a copy of it now.
So let's go, are there any questions, concerns? I think we're okay. Does it need to be a motion?
You have Devin online.
Oh, I do
as
have
well.
Devin. Hi, Devin.
Hi, I'm willing to make that motion.
Okay, Devin has made the motion. All in favor? I'll have to take roll. Devin, I'll start with you.
Aye.
Akua? Aye. I'm an aye.
Aye.
Mark and Sarah? Aye. Aye. So moved.
Robert, thank you for all the legwork on
Yeah.
Not a problem.
I know that's taken a while.
Love to see the improvement.
Where am I signing? Not
Because you don't actually have to sign, you can
Oh.
just put your name and info to the right of Lloyd's information.
Oh, okay.
There's a little bit of space there.
Yep.
And I will follow up with a couple of thank you letters. I'll either give those to one of the principals or directly to Lynn to have the board sign a thank you to the
Yeah.
bank and
Yeah. Perfect.
and Scott Goodyear.
Thank you,
I'd like
Robert.
to say thank you to Mr. Goodhue too.
Oh, yes, for
Absolutely.
sure,
Definitely.
for sure. Back to the, it takes a village.
Thank you, folks. Sorry to take up a chunk of your time.
Thank you, Robert.
You're welcome.
Matt, you're up.
Yeah, hey, my apologies for being a couple of minutes late. I went down to check out the baseball games and the softball games, and it's a perfect day. And I feel like on a day like today, we should all be thankful that I actually walked back indoors, right? It's that kind of day. Our highlight is that when Heather Hawkins, assistant principal, and I arrived, one of the things that was a pretty major concern at Enosburg Falls High School was student conduct and the response to student conduct. So we immediately set to work making some arrangements in terms of staffing and also in terms of the handbook and procedures. And so the biggest change I would say is that we morphed our planning room from a planning room where there was one woman sort of doing responses all on her own and trying to keep things afloat to, well, one of the first things is we asked Lynn if, since we had a lot of para vacancies, if we could direct one of those to create a second person for the planning room, because we were finding that when there was a high volume of issues, there wasn't a backup person, you know, or if that person was out, then again, the whole system kind of crumbled. And so we did get 2 positions. Over the summer, Heather put together a proposal which involved turning it into the Student Support Center. The thing that I love about this, and you'll see a little video about it, the thing that I love is the emphasis on learning. We are a learning organization, and the idea is that when students misbehave, there are various components that have to do with it. But the learning why it's an issue at base can be really helpful to students, and having them present what they've learned to either one person or a small group of people really helps with the accountability and to demonstrate that they are making progress, and it pulls the community in a way. We were also lucky to get our 2 individuals. They're all going to introduce themselves on the video, but one is Patty Stowe, who has subbed here for a while, had a long career in Berkshire, including as assistant principal there. And then Kim Araldi, who is kind of village resident extraordinaire with the Opera House, and she's really interested in connecting. She's not part of the initiative, but the other group, it's not the Chamber of Commerce.
Business Association.
Business Association, thank you, yep. And so Kim also was the planning room coordinator at Fairfield Center School. So they both came with a lot of experience and energy. So and they've been invaluable because the amount of time Heather would have spent on immediate interventions would have made the job almost undoable. So it's a good investment, and more importantly, I think what they're doing is really valuable for education.
Hey everyone. Welcome to the Student Sports Center, what we call the SSC here at Enosburg Falls High School. We're going to let you in to give you a really quick view of the work that we do here in the SSC. We've taken the idea of a planning room to another level to include an instructional approach to behaviors. Now I'm going to introduce you to the staff here in the SSC. First and foremost, my name is Heather Hawkins. I'm the assistant principal, and I like to call myself the producer of the show.
I feel like we're not. Hi, Kim Covitaraldi here.
Hi, I'm Patty Stowe.
And you guys are the directors of the SSC.
Oh, well, start over.
All right. So what do we do here? We do relationship building, supporting our students, and available for all students, kind of like a safe space. Teacher support. Teachers send students here for support after exhausting any classroom management strategies. Skill building. We try to use natural consequences so the students can learn skills that they might be lacking. Sometimes it's a quiet space, a quiet study space for students who need a different environment. Also ISS, in-school suspensions, where students can reflect, make restitution, and repair any impact. And we do support by the door, which Patty's going to tell you about in a bit.
Okay, hi. Relationship building. We have created a welcoming space for all students. Every day is a new day and a fresh start. Developing relationships with each student allows us to meet them where they are at so we can build critical life skills in challenging situations. Using SEL skills, social emotional learning, such as deep breathing and taking a pause, are examples of what has worked for us. Without the relationships we have been able to build, self-regulation methods of this type would not have been as successful as they have been. We also offer snack check-ins and lunchtime chats where students can be more themselves.
So we need teacher support.
Slide.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Teacher support has a couple of different looks. One, teachers can either call the SSC room and ask for one of us to come to get a student, or the teacher can give us a call and let us know a student is on their way. Processing with a student happens next. We help the student to repair and process with the teacher. The second is support by the door, where the teacher will call us, will come down, and we can process right outside the door with the teacher, or we can process with just the student. All right, behavior referral. Teachers fill out a behavior referral form. Number one. Number two, Kim and I receive it through the email. Next, we meet with the student at the appropriate time and discuss the referral. 4, a decision is made. Next, steps are based on the behavior. So it can run from processing and a warning, an appointment with teacher, to repair or process, skills academy, and lastly, consult with Heather Hawkins if needed. And then the behavior referral is logged in PowerSchool under the student's name.
Skills Academy. Skills Academy takes place directly after an incident, during planned AT times, or at lunch, depending on students' schedules. Processing as soon after an incident is most effective. We use a rubric, and hold on one second. We use a rubric and scripted questions, which can also be fluid to speak to specific situations and students. This is our behavior rubric that you are looking at right now and can reference and look at another time as well. The scripted questions are here.
Okay, I'm helping.
Yep, Skills Academy. These are the scripted questions that also are changed at certain times depending on the incident or how the students are feeling when we're trying to discuss them. And we change them up to get to the end of a situation as best possible as we see fit.
The projects.
These are the different projects that we have implemented. Discussing what happened and how things could have been done differently is the first step. Depending on what we learn is how we proceed in this process. We have designed these skill building prompts that help students process after behaviors occur. Students use the ideas to build on learning experiences that match the incidents. And here, there are a few examples linked as well that you can see. A student created this beautiful essay when learning about her aggression after an incident in school. She did a very fantastic job, and we are happy to have this to share with you. She really learned a lot in this process. I don't know if I put.
No, we're good.
Okay. And this is some racism research that another student did for an incident surrounding the N-word. I believe this was, right?
Yes.
Okay. And now Heather's going to walk you all through our data.
Okay, next. So at the end of each month, we compile data. We do a number of incidences per month. We separate them into different categories, separate the behavior by grades 9 through 12, rate of behavior per day, days of the week, data as well. I compiled all the data from last year, so we're able to compare this year's data to last year's behavior data. We're able to notice trends and think about some proactive strategies. Instructionally, this allows us to able to coach the teachers on classroom management strategies and potentially modeling for the teacher. We can use the data for the next school year to proactively plan for any kind of month behaviors on the rise and create systems to decrease our incidents. This is one example of the rate of behavior. So this is by months in September. And as you can see, I know I wrote something about this, sorry. I total the number of behavior incidents, divide that by the number of student days to obtain the rate of behavior per day for the month. And as you can see, and I can't hide it, we have a high rate of behavior incidents per day. 5 data points are above 7 incidents per day. I consider this high. However, you can also see the trend line, and this is the trend line right here, and it's decreasing. It's slight, and it's decreasing. So last year we saw an increase in the rate of behavior over the months, and this year we're seeing a decrease, which is positive, and I definitely call that improvement. So that is our Student Support Center here at EFHS.
Ciao.
Email us with any questions you might have. Thanks. Okay, my mouse isn't working, so there it is. All right.
Hey Matt, they talked a lot about some links and everything. Did we get a copy of that presentation? Or?
The links in the presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mean
like the rubric?
The rubric is in our handbook, and you can certainly
yes
get a copy of that. Yes, I'm sure both of your daughters keep it.
Oh, right next to their bed, I'm sure.
But I'll make sure you get that behavior
Maybe
rubric.
I should keep it next to me.
And in terms of the links, if you want to see the samples of the projects and stuff like that, I will have them make it anonymous, like federal documents, so they can black things out. But you can see some of that stuff. Yeah. Absolutely.
I think, Matt, it would be good too, or interesting to see the data plotted year over year, right? So it's helpful to see this year, but a comparison for last year and maybe the year before, or at least last year would be helpful.
The tricky part is it's a little bit apples and oranges because of how we were using the
the planning room.
Well, how we were using the planning room, but also how they were inputting the data into Power School is the word I couldn't come up with of all words. So it wasn't input into Power School with the same kind of expectations. We did some expectation setting at the beginning of this year about how we input data. So I'm sure Matt could get that because clearly Heather pulled some things. It just might not look.
Yeah, and I think Heather canceled out all the mask violations because that was some like enormous. But we can look at all the other stuff.
Yeah, as best as possible. I think it would help with the story of the improvements that was true on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, I actually kind of wished Heather had done that comparison in here too, because, yeah, because some of it's qualitative, like you walk in the building and hopefully, I've heard that to many people, it has a good tone in it this year, maybe a little more settled than last year, but also quantitative. Yeah, yeah.
Can I just point something out about the data? I mean, Enosburg obviously is not my school, but I think one of the things that can also happen is when you're comparing the data from year to year, if they're having a much more structured way of collecting it this year, it could actually be higher.
Might go up.
Right.
Yeah.
Only because more is being captured.
Right.
So I think that's one of those things to really keep in mind. I think we've seen that from time to time.
Yeah, I would further add that there's a lot of data that shows anytime there's administrative turnover in a system, you often see a disciplinary spike because usually there's new systems or structures either implemented or followed in a way that might feel less familiar to students. And so there's some kind of natural, especially at the adolescent level, like testing of those new boundaries. And so once they recognize that things are consistent, they often settle. To your point, Akua, that like Enosburg's been tracking the data for like about 15 years, and so we have like the previous principal, the year I started, and then like a steady decreasing line. So once you kind of have like some of that consistency in practice and like the same people in the same positions over time, you can see
in the same way of collecting it.
In the same way of collecting it.
That's the key difference that I see is that like,
yes, tracking the same piece of data over time, you do see that
because the data's only
positive trend of a downward line, which is a good thing.
Yeah. I really liked the menu of options. So if the students do have something and they need to have some sort of restorative process and some sort of repair of the harm, the menu of options looked really cool. I wondered if that was what you were asking for instead of the student work.
Yeah, no, that menu of options in like the rubric would be really interesting to see, like what the expectations are, but I don't need the student work.
Okay. The one other thing is that about this is it really helps in terms of working with teachers, especially newer teachers or teachers new to the school, because the way the write-ups look, you get a really good sense of how they perceive of the rules and how they're interpreting the rules. And that has, because Heather has her background with behavior, that creates a path in to say, oh, you see this as a violation, but perhaps that's, not a, let's say a school conduct violation. Maybe it's the kid is struggling with their work, and so they didn't turn in their paper, but that wasn't disrespect when they said, no, I don't have it. That's not a great example, but it does allow us to hone in with, with individual teachers. Sometimes you see a trend and you're like, oh, this is a skill that teacher could use, or this is a matter of interpretation we need to clarify better. So it can be formative data for us, as administrators.
For sure.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah,
I
great.
definitely feel the qualitative data in my visits.
Good. I'm
You can
glad.
feel the sense of calm. It's good.
Good. We like calm. Thank you, Matt. That brings us to Morgan.
Great. The first two items are really just informational. I still have not received the allowable tuition for FY22, and that's causing some agita across the state because we really want to get those billed out in this fiscal year, which is the proper place that they should be. But I've not heard anything more about when those might be released. Maybe I'll do this a little bit out of order, and I'll pop down to number 4. 3 years ago, we started a lease with a company called Specialized Purchasing Consultants for copiers across all 3 districts. As part of that 5-year agreement, we brought in new machines for 3 years, and then we left some that we're gonna swap out in year 4, which is where we are now. And so because of that, we need to get 2 motions on the books. These are similar to the ones that you did 3 years ago. And that'll just take us through the end of this lease. And I can read them off if that's helpful. I have these. The first one is a motion to approve the proposed tax-exempt lease with MST Government Leasing LLC for the purposes of leasing, refinancing, and funding photocopy equipment leases, including consultant fees and related costs of issuances of such leases in an amount not to exceed $84,358.60 and an interest rate of 5.24% per year through August 1, 2027.
I'll make that motion. So the motion on the table to renew that lease. Any conversation or questions? Having none, I would not entertain a motion, I did that already. Take a vote. Devin?
Aye.
Akua? Aye. Mort?
Aye.
Sarah? Aye. And I am an aye.
And the second is a motion to authorize the superintendent to execute and deliver the tax-exempt lease with MST Consulting on such terms as conditions discussed and provided to the board, and to execute and deliver any such documents required to execute the contract with Specialized Purchasing Consultants, Inc. Just giving Lynn the authority to
That's a lot of
sign
execute in one sentence.
that we just approved.
Do I have a motion to approve? Oh, okay. Mort Nakua made the motion. I'll take a roll. Devin?
Aye.
Akua? Aye. Mort?
Aye.
Sarah? Aye. And I'm an aye.
And then finally, I have a presentation which is just informational at this point. We have talked about Act 173 quite a bit on this board. As I go to my monthly association meetings, there's been a lot of discussion how other systems are not really having these conversations, and whether it's board or central office administration or building level administration. There are a lot of places in the state that I feel are not really prepared for the switch to Act 173, at least in terms of budget implication. So I'm going to go through some of that with you, and may touch on it again before we start getting into budgeting season in September. So in terms of budgets and tax rates, one of the big impacts of Act 173 is that they are replacing that equalized pupil figure with a long-term weighted average daily membership figure. It's basically the same. They both try to acknowledge that there's a baseline student that costs a certain amount of money to educate.
Right.
And as you put different factors in there, they become more expensive or less expensive. So pre-K kiddos are less expensive to educate. High school kids are more expensive to educate. Kids coming to you from poverty are more expensive. Kids coming to you who don't have English as a primary language are more expensive. So the concept is the same, but the formula's changed a little bit, and the weighting factors have changed pretty significantly.
Significantly from when you introduced it before?
No, significantly from equalized pupils, long-term
I was having
ADM. So this is a slide that I just lifted from an agency presentation. And so for a given level of spending, if you're holding your spending stable, a district that sees an advantage with the new weights is going to have lower spending per pupil, and so lower tax rate. That district should be able to increase its spending to provide additional supports to those kids that are more expensive to educate. That will raise the ed spending per pupil, and it will also bring the homestead tax rate up. But those districts, and Enosburg-Richford and NMV are both in that category, should be able to fund more services for those kids at the same tax rate. And the intent of the law was really not for those so-called winner districts to just bank that savings and pass it on. So I know that Lynn and I have both been hammering that point in your meetings. This kind of shows the old and the new weights. So before Act 127, this line here, kindergarten kids counted as 0.46 of a whole student, or pre-K kids. So there's a discount for the number of pre-K kids you have. And then from grades 6 through 12, you got a small increase for kids in those grades. You'll see pre-K stayed the same. 6 through 8, you're now getting more of a boost for them. It's about a threefold increase. Similar for 9 through 12, slightly more. If you look over at the poverty scale, poverty is increasing pretty dramatically. So it's gone from basically an additional quarter kid for every student identified as living in poverty to an additional whole kid. EML is emerging multilingual students. It was a much smaller factor under the current budget we're living in than the budget that we're going to be living in FY25. So a big bump there. There are also some new categories. There's a sparsity weighting that is just based on the number of people divided by the number of square meters in a district. I don't remember off the top of my head which bucket ER falls into, but you are getting some additional weights for sparsity, and those will be applied against the entire student count. And then for small schools, this in most places is going to replace the small schools grant, but you can see now that if a school drops even below 250, they're getting a slight bump up for those kids. So in Enosburg-Richford, this is the budget that we went to voters with. The equalized pupils may have changed a little bit with an update that came in after we warned, but we basically said that we needed to raise 16.7 million in taxes. That was your 20-ish million budget less the 4 million that we get in for tuition and other pots of revenue. This gave you net spending per pupil of 18,159, and then divided by the yield, this gave you a district-wide tax rate of just over $1.17. If we took the new weights and applied that to the old equalized pupil formula, so we're kind of just trying to make an apples-to-apples comparison, you actually would have had 1,014 equalized pupils going into this budget year. Then your ed spending per pupil would have been 16,514, the yield staying the same, your tax rate would have dropped about 11 cents. So certainly not the biggest impact that's being felt in the state, but it's a pretty significant one for ER. If you had raised that budget by 1.6 million ed spending, you wouldn't raise your revenue at all, so just raising your expenses by 1.6 million. That would get you to a higher ed spending, but with that higher equalized pupils, it would bring you back to that same ed spending per pupil and the same residential tax rate.
Yep. Wow.
So it's
this is a beautiful example of the intent behind the law, because we know that for years and years our ed spending per pupil has been near the lowest in the state, and that's something that we've had to do in order to get budgets approved, and we've done the best we could with what we had in those moments. But the reality is there have not been equitable opportunities here compared to some of the opportunities that other communities have been able to afford. So the intention behind this law is to make this a more level playing field, so that there is less of a difference between where kids live and the educational opportunities that they have. So this is an opportunity for us to be able to provide a more equitable educational opportunity for our students.
And the 1.6 figure is certainly not set in stone, and that is probably pretty accurate if you were the only district that had that information and could make the change. But every district is going to be having these conversations come December when the yield number goes out. And again, that yield number is going to change pretty radically. So as the yield goes down, your tax rate goes up. As districts like yours that have historically been unable to spend on those kids increase their budgets, that's going to put pressure on the yield and it's going to drive it down and impact everyone in the state. If those high spending districts start to cut their budget, you'll see some benefit statewide for the tax rate. But those districts get what's called the soft landing, and so their tax rate can only go up a certain amount every year. So if they've got a savvy business manager, at some point they're going to say, okay, you've cut enough. If you cut any more, it's really not going to impact your tax rate. So we'll slow those declines for future years.
Gotcha.
So I don't want anybody to be wedded to the 1.6 million, but I'm kind of wedded to the concept.
I've already spent it.
The other factor that is something that it's been included in those numbers that I showed you, but because Enosburg-Richford is so heavily dependent on tuition students, if you have 10 EML kids that you didn't have the year before, you would anticipate that you've got more expenses to educate them. You're getting, for those 10, you're getting to count them as 35 because you're getting an extra 2.5. If those are Enosburg residents, they're helping you. If those are all tuition kids from NMV, NMV's getting the benefit and you're footing the bill. So it's it works a little differently between tuition and
So
kids.
if they're, why
Because NMV is the entity that
is carrying the
has the kids and is paying the bill. So
got you. So that I see what you're saying.
your high school tuition rate will go up a little bit
Gotcha.
if you add to those programs, but you're not necessarily getting the benefit directly depending on where those kids fall.
Okay.
And so just a brief overview, I'll try to hammer you once more about that before we actually start looking at real numbers in the fall.
Sounds good.
And unless you've got any questions, that's all I've got.
Thanks, everybody. Okay, Lynn, you're up.
Okay. So Courtney is going to put a slideshow up. There have probably been changes to the personnel section since those went to print with you. So what you're going to see is the most recent. So I'll go over the action items. Under hiring, I'll be looking for a motion to hire the following professional staff at Enosburg Elementary: Jocelyn Marcoux, teaching grade 1, switching from special education to EES. Michael Hatch, teaching 7 and 8 math at Enosburg Middle School. Luke Weber, for high school social studies at Enosburg. Brian Rainville, half-time theater drama at both Enosburg and Richford. Jack McMullen, high school math. Philip Anderson, high school social studies. At Richford Junior Senior High School, Zachary Greenwood, high school science teacher. So be looking for a motion for those hiring. For that hiring.
I make a motion.
Devin has made a motion. Oh, so 1, 2, yeah, so Moore is recusing himself. So although, Devin, all in favor?
Aye.
She's like, duh. Cool. I'm an aye, and Sarah?
Aye.
Okay, great.
Okay. So resignations, Levi Irish, work-based learning and co-op teacher at Cold Hollow. At Enosburg Elementary School, Heather Beauregard, grade 2 teacher. I'll look for a motion from the board for both of those.
Akua has made the motion. All in favor? Devin?
No way.
Oh. I think technically by law we don't have to do this.
You don't, but we have been.
I know, just out of tradition's sake. So Devin says.
I have to say aye, don't I?
Yeah, well, you don't have to, but she doesn't have to ask
Can't
either.
All right, aye.
Akua? I'm an aye. Mort?
Aye.
And Sarah?
Aye.
There we go.
So we have some open positions that I would just like to say publicly. Cold Hollow is looking for construction trades teacher. That is kind of a non-traditional teacher pathway. So if people are interested in that licensure path for construction trades, you need some college credits, but then we can get you a provisional. I think the requirement is something like 18-ish college credits, and then there's a pathway to licensure that we can help with. Work-based learning and co-op teacher, same thing. Enosburg Elementary School is looking for a paraeducator, behavior technician, bus monitor, and elementary classroom teachers. Enosburg Middle School looking for a reading interventionist, school counselor, paraeducator, and a long-term middle school science substitute teacher for fall, correct?
Correct, just for September.
Just for what?
September.
September, okay. EFHS, we're looking for an evening custodian, behavior technician, paraeducator, director of school counseling, PE teacher, half-time French teacher, and a long-term high school math substitute teacher. And that's for the end of this school year, correct?
It is, though it turns out it is under the threshold to require, it's less than 30 days.
Okay.
So we're actually going to cover it using
From within.
existing staff.
Okay.
And a substitute to maybe be in the room, and then existing staff will handle the curriculum and assessment.
Okay, thank you. So RES is looking for paraeducators, a behavior technician, a .6 librarian, elementary classroom teacher, kindergarten teacher, school counselor, school social worker, grade 5 teacher, and a math and literacy interventionist. Richford Junior Senior High School is looking for paraeducators, family engagement coordinator. No, that's been filled.
It's been filled, but that name wasn't I mean, I assumed the person verbally accepted to me.
I don't think it's in writing or it would be changed, but
Okay.
that's okay.
And it's
So
a
that,
different board.
right, that one will go to the SU board. Behavior technician, school nurse, .4 driver's ed teacher, and .5 French teacher. So that was all informational.
So the plan is for us not to hire a French teacher because Matt, I think, has a part-time one?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't know yet?
I
Okay,
think I
guess
got
that's
ghosted.
premature.
I'm not sure, yeah.
We've been emailing, but.
Yeah,
Yes.
we thought we were gonna have a.
It's possible that any of these could change, all
Yeah,
of this is
any of
subject to
this-
change, because we're mid-hiring season. Actually, we're beyond mid.
Yeah.
I feel like we're in a pretty good place for this point in the year, comparatively. You do have 2 personnel requests there. You have one that was sent in your board packet, a request from Amy Callan Jarvis. So she is mother to one of the students who earned a gold medal at Skills USA, who will be going to Atlanta. Is it Atlanta, Matt? Did I get, or Nate, did I get that right? Yeah. So it's the last 3 days of the school year. So she is asking to be able to go. So she has one personal day left, so she would like to be able to go for the last 2 days. She's asked for you to allow her to use sick days. You can't actually allow her to use sick days.
Yeah.
You do have one past precedent for someone, a support staff member, chaperoning a class trip, where you have not, you just counted it as other. You haven't made it an unpaid day.
Okay.
And I'll just put a plug in, I don't know if I can, I'm allowed to, but I'm going to.
Has that ever stopped you?
No. So Seth Hungerford's a Skills USA advisor, and he's taking 2 females and a male, and there's some varying schedules, so Amy has agreed to take the girls where they need to go while he's with the other students, so she is actually acting as a chaperone.
That's my question, is she actually acting as a,
So same district.
the letter doesn't have.
Oh, she had to give you access. Do
That's-
you want me to read
that's
it to
okay.
you?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
How do we feel about putting it, so it'd be under other or professional? What are you gonna?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
we just wouldn't dock pay.
Okay. So what do you think? Do you think paid as a chaperone or requiring unpaid? Are you thinking, Sarah? Yeah?
Paid as a chaperone?
If she wasn't, then she would have to take it unpaid.
Okay.
Yes.
How about you, Abdul?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yep, okay.
So do I, would she do that as professional time when she's working?
I don't know, is other in there and they can mark the reason?
Professional days are in there.
Professional.
But she can write a description.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do you need a motion for that?
Yes.
So I'd entertain a motion.
Make a motion.
Sarah has made the motion. All in favor? Devin?
Aye.
Akua?
Aye.
Mort?
Aye.
Sarah? Aye. And I am an aye.
At your last meeting, you had quite a few staff members who were right at the edge of running out of sick leave. Chris Hoyt was one of those staff members. He's requesting up to 2 more additional days of unpaid leave if it's needed.
So we approved 2 prior. Have
Correct.
those already been used?
Yes.
They have, okay.
Yeah, his daycare was closed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Tis the season, right? So are there any questions? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve 2 unpaid days if needed.
Make the motion.
Sarah has made the motion. All in favor? Devin?
Aye.
Akua?
Aye.
Mort?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
And I am an aye.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing under student at this time. I'll jump to number 3 and just talk for a moment about the new statewide assessment. So late in the fall, we received notice from the Agency of Education that we were no longer going to be administering the SBAC assessment, that we would be doing the VT-CAS, I think it's called.
VT-CAP.
VT-CAP. I always get the acronym wrong. The VT-CAP assessment through Cognia. So that rollout was later than what you might expect. There were some delays in getting materials and getting training out to trainers and being able to train our staff. So there were definitely some onboarding bumps that people across the state felt. We're pretty far into the testing window at this point, so I think most of our schools some of our schools are done. Some are like midway and some have just started because they had an opportunity to decide when in the window they were going to start. So I would say some of the schools that chose to start right at the beginning experienced a few more bumps along the way. So we had some glitches with students not being able to get on to the assessments, and we had some issues with some of the tools that were supposed to be available to them were not accessible, or some of the tools that were not supposed to be available were accessible. So I know that the state cannot count this as a pilot year because it's one of the ESSA requirements that we give a standardized assessment at the state level. But I'm really looking at this as, this is the first administration that we have done, and I think we can't look at it any other way given the challenges that we have faced. So one thing I just want to acknowledge is that the timing of this and how much our teachers put into preparing for and administering those assessments, it's been very stressful, and I just have such appreciation for our staff being able to roll with it as best they could, and for our students. I've heard stories about the incredible perseverance of not only the staff with just sticking with it and figuring it out and getting tech support, but also students who, some of them, it was more than an hour before they were able to get on after their other students or their classmates had begun. So appreciate everybody's perseverance, and I just wanted to give you that preview. Hopefully we'll be talking about results earlier than what we had recently been able to do with SBAC. So stay tuned for more on that in the fall.
Quick question, sorry to interrupt, but you may have already shared this previously, but just a little bit of background on why we switched from the prior assessment to this one.
So I think that what the agency told us was that equity was at the center of why we made the switch. I think they did a request for proposal for new standardized assessments, and Cognia was the bid that was selected, and they talked about it being much more equity. It's not that it's equity, it's more accessible to all kids, that it was more sensitive to regional differences in language and those are kind of the reasons that we received. We didn't see it coming as a field. So I have a hard time being able to tell you like all the reasons why the change happened because we weren't a part of that.
Got it. And so I guess part B to that question, regarding the rollout, was there statewide training for the teachers in preparation for this?
No. There was statewide training that was, they try to train the trainer model. So it was supposed to be at a certain time. Everything just kept getting delayed a little bit because the rollout just happened later than what you would have expected. So the trainers did get the training, and we had our trainers trained people, like lead teachers within each building, and they had it over a 2-day period, for example, and they did the training in day 1, and at the end of day 1, they received updates about how all of these things had shifted. And so the training that they had just done for the first group, there were significant changes, and they had to, so it just bumps like that had made it really
The test
challenging.
administrative handbook changed almost daily.
Yes.
Up until the first day, it maybe even changed.
It changed after
the
testing
first day of
began.
test administration.
Yeah. And the log-on platform even changed after like one of our days. It looked totally different.
So is it a new assessment or just a new to us
It's
assessment?
a new to us assessment. Cogni is a pretty big
Well,
country, and they have a
but
company.
They are a huge company, but they have been working with the state of Vermont in order to make the test for us. But yeah.
But
I
the
did
company
ask
is not
that
new to this
question that
game.
who had just asked, and I'm under the understanding that there are 5 states that are using the copy.
Is this the first year it's being used though?
No.
No?
Oh, it's not?
No, from what my understanding, other states had used it.
Yeah, that was fine too.
Massachusetts, Alaska was one of them. There's 5 of them. Because my question was, we can't compare. A lot of us are still, or a lot of people are still doing, what was it, SBAC?
Yeah.
There's been so many. And so it's hard to compare if some places using SBAC and we're using something different. That was a concern that I had.
You'd think that the glitches that happened wouldn't have happened if they're actually using it in other
That's
states.
what I think
There are still significant glitches.
Oh, yeah, like
too.
the text-to-speech didn't even work.
Right.
And then they changed a whole bunch of things with it. I mean, in just we had trained, most of us had trained all our teachers in the SBAC because you have to do an online training in order to like do the interims. I think we'd all done that with all of our teachers, and then they send us oh, surprise, it's not gonna be the SBAC.
So we didn't see that coming, and so part of our SU assessment plan had the SBAC interim assessment embedded in our assessment plan, and we had just gotten word from people that were trying to access it, like the week before, that they were having difficulty, so we were trying to figure out why are they having difficulty, and it was because we didn't have access anymore as a state, and the shift had happened to go to Cognia, and we didn't know. So it's been problematic. Yeah.
So the Vermont Principals Association with the Superintendent's Association and the teachers, the NEA Teachers Union wrote a letter to the state expressing, like jointly wrote a letter to the state expressing all the concerns that have come up around the table. It's a very well-written letter that really outlines the concerns about the rollout, the issues inside buildings, the login problems students were having, and a lot of the pushback we've received from the state has been things like, well, can't you just pull that 9th grade boy and ask him to just retake that section of the test together? Like, no, we didn't really want to do it the first time, so we're not like
much deeper than that.
right. So so some of those responses and the fact that the platform and all of the handbooks and the manuals were changing while the test was live, created it, inequities. Complete chaos and inequities. We just did a practice login today, and I had a teacher who opened it up, and she has not administered the test yet, and there was a list of about 45 students she has no knowledge of. We didn't recognize a single one of the names showing up under her profile. She could have clicked into any one of them and read their state student ID number, their
That
testing
actually
accommodations, like
has come
testing
out
breaches
in
are
the
happening.
media that there have been those. I think that the intent behind the letter was to get in front of the results, because you can't have a rollout like this and expect that our students would have done well on this assessment. And we didn't have an opportunity really to even have time to unpack, what kind of assessment will this be, and have a thoughtful onboarding for our students and for our teachers. So Deputy Secretary Boucher did inherit this. Secretary French left for a new position, right around the time this happened. So she did receive that letter, and she did at least lengthen the administration window by 2 weeks. We will continue to advocate for, some thoughtful communication around these results whenever they are released publicly. Like, it would be a really huge disservice to our students and to our faculty to use this as a stick, a punitive measure, because it really has not been a smooth rollout. But our people, our administrators, our coordinators, Mary Ellis and Robin Gagne from the SU, who have kind of led all of this, they've taken a lot on in doing that, and I really appreciate everything everybody has done. Made the best of a difficult situation.
We're not gonna get the results till August, which is gonna be kind of late data anyways.
It'd be much quicker than what the last 2 years of SBAC have been.
Is that quicker?
Yeah. Oh,
Usually
yeah.
we get it
It
in
was more than a
6
year.
Yeah, but
No,
they've always
we
been
would get it.
embargoed, so you can't do it
Yeah.
anyway.
Right, we couldn't release it.
We couldn't release it, but we would get it
Yeah,
live.
we would get it within.
So I'm gonna shift into legislative update. This should be relatively short, because not a lot has changed since the last time we spoke about what was happening in Montpelier. We're kind of in a place where they're getting close to the end of the legislative session. Several big bills are still sitting in committee. One thing that has come out is universal school meals, so that did pass. So that passed, and the funding for that, the way I understand it, will be coming out of the education fund. There are still bills contending with PCBs. There's still legislation that's contending with private schools and accountability measures centered around that. There are some big things out there that are likely not going to make it to the finish line at this point. So, good segue into one of my last pieces, and that's about PCB testing. So I reported to you that the last time we met, that there was a bill that was proposing a pause or delay on the PCB testing program so that it could be lined up with the facilities assessment that's happening across the state, and the renewed push to have an opportunity to reinstitute the state construction aid that has been paused for the last 20 years. So that bill has not moved through, to my knowledge, yet. So in the meantime, things are happening behind the scenes, and we, as you know, Richford Elementary School was tested last September, early-ish. In September, we never received results from that testing. Once this discussion about pause happened, all of a sudden we got 3 schools tested. Bam, bam, bam. They went to Richford Elementary School.
To retest a couple of areas.
And then they went to Enosburg Elementary School, and they tested at Berkshire Elementary School. I kind of knew Berkshire was going to be second in the queue for us. I expected Sheldon to be third, and Enosburg kind of came out of nowhere for me. They had already tested you, like I found out about it the next morning. So now we find ourselves in the position of awaiting results for PCB tests for 3 of our schools. So you'll be hearing from me if we have any results, because there'll be work for us to do. Any questions on that? So I'm giving you your annual elementary school choice in-district transfer report. So we have 6 transfers 5 from Richford Elementary School to Enosburg Elementary School, and 1 from Richford Middle School to Enosburg Middle School. And that is pretty, the numbers, they're not more than what we have had in previous years. I'm noticing that for the NMV district too, the numbers are pretty stable from year to year. We're not seeing any major influxes into or out of any particular schools. And that's all I have for you, Polly.
Okay. So that brings us to Kelly.
Everything is informational, and I think the thing that I would highlight is the thing that I put on there first, the student-led conferences. I think, now post-COVID, we're certainly getting back to doing a lot of sort of the normal things. It's pretty neat to see the investment of particularly our younger students in student-led conferences and really establishing that as a norm. I would also highlight that some of our teachers, all of the students set reading and math goals or language and math goals. Some of our teachers also really highlighted behavior goals and SEL goals and had particular data around that, and then students reported out to their families.
Nice.
For better or worse, on some of those. And so that was, just another opportunity for the kids, whether they wanted to or not, to lead some of that learning.
Nice. Okay, that brings us to Beth.
I have just a couple of additions, a couple of celebrations. We have a student, Michaela Shagnon, who was one of about 40, maybe a little more than 40 applicants of student leaders throughout the state who applied to be ambassadors for the National Student Leadership Summit. And she was one of 6 chosen. So we're really excited about that. Jim Hubbard nominated her, and I think she's the first student ever from Richford High School to be to be an ambassador. So we're very excited about that. She'll be going there this summer.
Neat.
And another celebration is that Sharon Rotuno, who's our LEAPS coordinator, along with Heather Moore, applied for a grant through Vermont After School, who worked in partnership with Jobs for the Future, the McClure Foundation, and others for middle school youth this summer who go to our summer program to pilot a Careers Foundation program. And so there'll be field trips, there'll be job shadows, there'll be guest speakers to really focus on career exploration for middle school. And if you look at the research, that's the age group they're saying that it should happen, that is at middle school. If they're deciding to go to college, about what career to go into, that's the most influential age. So those 2 things came across my desk after the report, so I just wanted to add them.
Good. There is a question on your, and it is Friday, June 16th at 7's
Oh, yes.
graduation. Who'll be presenting?
Yes, I did put that.
So I can't make Enosburg's, but I can make Richford's. So do you, or do you have some?
I usually do Richford.
Yeah. So do you want to do Richford's? Okay, I need somebody to do Enosburg's, so maybe you'll do both.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm just double checking. I think I should be able to.
If I could, I can.
You, okay. Saturday, it would be Saturday, the
17th.
The 17th at 11, 10, 11.
11.
11. Yeah.
You can't do that though?
Do you mind?
I don't mind.
And we had talked about maybe changing.
Well, we're gonna talk.
Changing up the scenario, so you may not be even handing them out, maybe?
We haven't talked.
You haven't talked, they're gonna talk. You're just gonna put it in your calendar.
I'll be present, they're just
Yeah.
gonna change it. I did mention it last year. We talked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Polly, I am willing to be a
Do you still
backup
want the
for
diplomas?
For the 16th, okay,
Yeah.
okay, good. So, yeah, it looks like Mort, and if Mort can do it, Akua could be a backup, or I could be a backup, whichever.
I'll ask you at the end.
But I do need to sign diplomas, Beth, so I'll touch with Jane.
Yeah.
Okay. So next that brings us to Jen.
All informational. I did want to highlight that Baxter Lee, he's an automotive teacher, I believe, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. He invited our first grade over to the Cold Hollow Career Center, and he had stations all set up for the kids, and the high school kids were leading all the different stations. And they also had a scavenger hunt all through the building. Hopefully you got to see some of the pictures from that I put in the memo. But the teachers were so impressed. The kids were so engaged and just had the time of their lives when they're over there, and they're all talking about when they go to Cold Hollow.
Yeah.
And but the thing that impressed the teachers so much was the maturity and responsibility that the older children had with presenting to the students. They said it was just amazing, so they're hoping like this sort of thing can continue to happen. But totally impressed by the students.
Neat. I like it. Next we have
Middle school.
Rachel. I'm scrolling. Getting there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mine is all informational, kind of like Matt said earlier. I had a couple interviews lined up for some open positions and was ghosted as well, but I'm hopeful to get things filled before the end of the school year. I did miss one date that Jen reminded me of it on June 6th. No, that's wrong, 9th. Our 8th graders are spending a full day at Cold Hollow for like learning about. They structure a full day of like engaging in programs, doing some activities, and like learning about the offerings, so that when they go to high school, they know kind of some path options based on career interests and stuff. And then we also had close to 90% participation at our student-led conferences in April, and for every student who didn't present to didn't come with a parent or guardian to present at the conferences, we catch those kids at school. So we have almost all of those done as well. So everybody does a presentation on their PLP. So I think we only have 1 or 2 students left, but it's just a really nice kind of reflection on learning to hear kids talk about their progress and growth.
Nice. And Matt.
So my snapshot. My little highlight is our conferences. We did them a little bit differently this year. In the fall, I was new. I was surprised at how few parents we had, so I decided to take a different path this year. So I asked all the advisors to contact all the parents of the students in their advisory, and to try repeatedly to try to get every student scheduled for what we call future planning conference. I realized we had to give it a different name because if we said parent conferences, parents were going to expect probably what we used to do, which is wander around to the various teachers. They could still do that, but we had a structured, really just 6 questions that we asked them to look at. So this it's sort of a PLP conference, but maybe kind of forward-looking for what's your path, what are you interested, and to get that parental feedback. To me, the significant piece in all of this was I did a feedback survey. They just finished submitting things, I think yesterday. So, but I'm going to have some data on their the teacher. First of all, the number of students who came, but also their perceptions about the reaching out to families. And I can say from reading some of their written responses, I think overall people were surprised at how it wasn't as bad as they had feared, that they thought it would be either really cumbersome or conflictual, or I'm not sure what, but that it went pretty well. And I also see signs that their understanding, it helped them shape their understanding of what it means to be an advisor a little bit, because I think at the high school that hadn't been as well established. And so I'm seeing really good signs there. I also saw some good there are still some teachers who are like, well, I think the parents would have rather speak to the academic teacher, but that was really small. Like, it's interesting. That was less than it was maybe 10% of teachers. The vast majority are starting to get the idea of the advising role. And it was really fun to be here in the building, and we had parents going in and out, and Sophie Skrobielowski-Wall, our foods teacher, had a great mostly dessert spread, and there was an art auction by our art teacher Brandy Yateman. So it was a really pleasant place to come in, and there were parents coming and going, and I told them my expectation is 90%, and we didn't meet it this year. I told them it was baseline data, but I'm going to keep pushing for that because I see no reason why we can't get 90% of parents immediately involved. And then in other cases, as Rachel's done, there are other times to share, or maybe kids don't have a parent situation, but we could find some other adults. So I feel like we just kind of broke ground on a new approach for our high school that will be more in line with what kids in our middle schools are experiencing. Oh, and it was interesting because of the format, a lot of parents brought their students, which we wanted them to do, and we put that out there. But I think that at the high school it had been a little more traditional where the parents came without the kids, and the vast number of parents brought their kids, and the teachers said those conferences were a lot better than the ones where it was just the teacher and the parents. So, yeah.
Nice. I enjoyed it.
What did you think?
I liked it because, my teenagers don't really communicate very well with their mother. So it was nice, like I didn't even know what classes they had signed up for. And it was just nice to even meet with the advisor and be like, this is what their plan is for next year. Those kinds of things. That was information that was good to have. Yeah, it was good. Great. And Nate.
The highlight is coming up May 24th, so if you guys want to come to the Opera House, May 24th, 7 o'clock for our annual award ceremony. That's kind of highlights all the great things kids have done throughout the year. Only real action item is to discuss the future of the Monteith House, as there's a program moving out of there. And I don't know exactly where they're going, but I think they're going somewhere.
The shopping center.
Shopping center. So I think it'd be a great time to make sure no one else can ever move in there and demolish it.
Yeah.
And I say that, and I don't.
Can ever move in there again.
I don't know if it's. I think it'd be worth looking in to see if there's any salvaging there, but it's in rough shape. So floors are slanted for good drainage. Foundation is rough, so I would say that I think we should start having that conversation. I don't think there's a major need for a house to be something, but I could be wrong. But I think that's something that we should think about.
I think the point of just mentioning it today is it needs to at least be on the board's radar.
Yeah.
The building is not in great shape. We have used it for a variety of things over the years, and the repairs are starting to be more costly, and there are things that have been kind of deferred in terms of maintenance over there. So I think you will need to make a decision in the coming, in the near future about what it is you want to do with that. And as you're thinking about the new sugar house, you might want to, maybe we do a tour over there.
Yeah.
Where I think our August meeting is going to be at Colt Hollow,
Yeah.
so maybe that would be a good time for us to take a look.
Yep. And Vern's telling me the Sugar House project is still moving forward. Not as fast as I had hoped, but everything else is good.
Good.
So hopefully you can make May 24th, put it on your calendars. Fun night, it won't be not longer than an hour and 35 minutes.
Okay, let's see, I closed where am I? Here. Okay, here we go. And then that brings us to board business. Establish or essential work of Vermont school boards.
Forget that again.
Okay.
Go to the next piece and I'll get that out.
Teacher and staff appreciation.
Do you want to just give an update, Courtney?
Sure. I have all the gift cards ready and sorted. and my plan is to deliver them to Enosburg-Richford schools tomorrow.
Great.
All of the invoices have been sent to the business office.
Nice.
I have never gotten gift cards this fast in restaurants, and it was very quick, so. That's good.
Well-oiled machine. All right, SU board report. I know, see?
Ollie, aren't you there?
No, I'm not there anymore.
You're there.
I know it's hard to like recall.
Reorganized.
Yeah.
You reorganized? So is Mary the chair? And who's the vice chair? Oh, geez, look at you, okay. All right. What else?
I'm looking at that.
Okay.
Burn the,
Any
presentation.
presentation from Vern?
Mhm.
What was it, just his list of what he was
just
gonna do?
summer
Yeah,
projects.
slideshow.
See, I didn't even have to be there. I know exactly what happened.
So we reorganized, Vern did the facilities, the slideshow talked about coming up. Are you okay if I do this?
Yes. No.
Okay. Talked about the moving into facility strategic planning for future years, just kind of getting through the more urgent things for right now. I presented the school calendar for 23-24. The board approved a waiver for the school calendar for this year for 22-23. So we turned one of the student days, we waived one student day, the one extra day that we have in the calendar, and turned that into professional learning day. I gave a legislative update.
Oh, I was looking at the wrong minutes. I was looking at previous minutes, but continue. Go ahead now.
And we had some reports from directors. Don't know if there was anything major in any of those. We ratified the support staff agreement. We did a little discussion about teacher staff appreciation, and under essential work of Vermont school boards, talked about how the SU board's responsibility is to establish a vision and engage the community. That was the piece that we talked about that there.
Okay. I was looking at the wrong one. So it went, ERUUSD meeting locations.
Okay, so you have a proposal in there. So you, at your reorganization meeting, we talked about, keep going one more page, go down. We talked about rotating so that we actually get to be in each of the schools within the ERUUSD. So you have a proposal there that would put your first meeting for the 23-24 school year in our new central office space. The reason for doing that is if we start in the new central office space, it gives everyone 2 meetings. You don't have to do that, but it worked out mathematically to rotate through, and every school would have 2 opportunities throughout the year. And then we get to be in Cold Hollow for the month of February, which is when we celebrate CTE.
Oh, good.
The other thing that I just want to mention is the February date is a change because we can't do the second week of February. So I just proposed Tuesday, February 6th.
You already approved that, right?
No.
No, it was just a discussion about that.
Okay.
And then if we follow this schedule that I created, we'll go to each school every 5th month. It'll be 5 months in between.
Okay.
each school.
I have to put it in my phone. Sounds good.
So we'd be looking for a motion to approve the dates and the locations.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion.
Mort has made the motion to approve. Devin?
Aye.
Akua?
Aye.
Mort?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay, so that brings us to the board report, you just did that. Next regular scheduled meeting will be June 13th at Richford.
And, oh, the essential work of Vermont school boards, going back to the top.
So you have a link in there. That first link brings you to that toolkit for school boards. And if you click on the effective and ethical operations, there's just a paragraph I'd like to review, and there's more information there. If you want to go deeper with this, we can. Something you certainly can ask me about. I just want to read the one paragraph. School boards are public bodies entrusted by the community with overseeing the system of education for children in the district. As elected officials, school board members must act with integrity and adhere to the highest ethical standards. Lawful and effective operations are crucial to a strong school board. Effective operations are characterized by well-organized meetings with agendas that focus discussion and decision-making, engage board members who have the information necessary to make informed decisions, and practices, protocols, and policies that are legally compliant. So on the side, there are some other tools for you to consider if you want to do any deeper work as a board. You can see some of the distinctions between the roles and responsibilities of school board versus superintendent. You can see the policies associated with your work as a board. If you click into that, you can see that there are conflict of interest, board meeting agenda preparation, distribution policies, public participation, board member education, board goal setting, evaluation, and handling public complaints. Those are all VSBA model policies. We have some of our own policies in FNESU connected to those as well. And if you wanted to do any board work, you could, there's a self-assessment in there as well. So my goal, as I said a couple of months ago, was to make sure that we addressed each of those 6 components over the course of the next few months. And this is the next one for the districts.
Okay,
Thank you.
perfect. Future agenda items, I can't think of any. Does anybody else can? No? And that brings us to meeting adjournment. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Devin.
You're welcome.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Perfect. Good night. Thank you, everyone.